I'm not buying Fallout 76 until private servers are available. I'm not buying Fallout 76 until modding is available. The people who say that are playing right into Bethesda's hands. They want you to buy it later, just as assuredly as they want you to buy it now. Conditioned boycotts do not work. You see, these features are already scheduled, so you're playing right into their hands. Hello, everybody. So, recently people have been asking me my opinion on Fallout 76. I thought I gave all my opinions out earlier, but for whatever reason, people need to have my opinion reaffirmed because there's now footage out. Setting reasonable expectations is important when a video game's about to come out. My expectation for Fallout 76 was a lighter version of Rust Arc DayZ. That is an open-world sandbox type game where you could build bases and deal with other players in various ways. Now, the reason Fallout 76 got so damn divisive between the community, classic fans' love for Fallout. Classic Fallout includes Fallouts 1 and 2, as well as possibly Brotherhood of Steel or Fallout Tactics. But the point is, the game style of the classic games was very different, although the RPG elements were there, choices and consequences mattered, and the storyline was far superior to anything Bethesda's drudged up. So knowing that, we get into Fallout 3, the first of Bethesda's Fallouts, and that's when I actually became a fan of the series. Don't get me wrong, I had played Fallouts 1 and 2 previously, and I said to myself back then, damn good story, damn good RPG mechanics, but damn do I not like Final Fantasy Tactics. And so, as more action-oriented RPGs became available, I started to gravitate more towards those. I was already a fan of the Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale type experience, but I would eventually come around to see Neverwinter Nights in its somewhat real-time, disguised turns. I believe that pacing is a huge component of making a game that I would want to play. And unfortunately, the classic Fallouts never had the combat system that I wanted out of a video game. That's why when Wasteland 2 came out, I was like, I'll give it a try, and then I gave it a try and decided, okay, this isn't for me. So if anything, I'm trying to say that while I appreciate aspects of Fallouts 1 and 2, those games were never for me. I became a Fallout fan at Fallout 3, which has one of the worst storylines ever created. The characters are kind of interesting, and the world is a delight to explore. And I think that's where Bethesda always nails down their games. Be it Daggerfall, Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, all of those games are a delight to explore. The newer games, like Fallout 4 or Skyrim, tend to lend themselves more towards a Saints Row type of game. By the way, I like Saints Row 4 a lot. So, an open-world collectathon sandbox is right up my alley. Fallout 4, for example, while I have criticisms that obviously they give zero shits about the lore of Fallout, they don't take the franchise seriously. They see it as a money-making venture. And the actual story that is building up in the Wasteland, that hasn't mattered to Bethesda at all. They just don't care. So when they don't care about continuity, the continuity therefore has no value. If you write up a Fallout fan fiction, it probably has more value than what Bethesda's making in terms of story. So where is the value in the Bethesda proposition? It, quite frankly, is in the gameplay experience. They're trying to build up gameplay experiences. They are disregarding the lore and the storylines. They use it, obviously, because it's expected, but Fallout 76 kind of subverts that. I mean, we can get away from a lot of our Fallout 4 tier writing. Fallout 76 can be seen as an opportunity to people who want a more exploration-driven experience. They want to be able to go out into the Wasteland, collect loot, do some side quests, of which they pile side quests on top of you. You go discover an area, a side quest starts. A limited time event starts. Your quest log will be packed full of stuff to do just by wandering around. So if that's the type of game you want, then I would say Fallout 76 is probably the game for you. The Break It early beta has proven to us that it is indeed going to be broken, let's just say. The internet has a way of not respecting non-disclosure agreements, so we already know what to expect from the game. I think it's going to be a game that I'm going to enjoy. However, if you look back on this and say, well, I'm a fan of Fallouts 1 and 2, and I really wish they'd just go back to making RPGs kind of like New Vegas again. They learned nothing from New Vegas. Bethesda didn't make New Vegas. That was Obsidian. And the people who worked at Obsidian, a lot of them no longer work at that company. Even if they were somehow to be given the Fallout license, they would not produce another Fallout New Vegas. It simply wouldn't happen. It would be a fundamentally different game from a fundamentally different group of people, particularly that core writer who's gone now. My point here, more than anything, is that if you are a fan of previous Fallout games and you just can't stand what they've done to the franchise, then it's time for you to emotionally check out. When Bethesda releases yet another game in the Fallout franchise, you can already know that it's not going to be the game you want. The reason is because the removal of RPG mechanics was done for a very particular reason, in order to grow the audience. Remember that RPG mechanics are kind of complicated. You need to know what you're doing when you enter a game with RPG mechanics, like, say, Morrowind. Most people enter Morrowind not realizing agility is a critical component in hitting things, and you're going to flail your weapon around like an idiot if you don't spec into agility in the beginning. I'm not saying that's necessarily a great example of a combat system. In fact, I would say that Morrowind is a pretty piss-poor combat system. However, those who understand the combat system are able to wield it right out of the box and lay waste to their enemies. People who don't understand it will try to hit a rat 15 times and then give up. For me personally, Fallout peaked in Fallout 3 and New Vegas combined Tale of Two Wastelands mod. Tale of Two Wastelands is my favorite way to experience Fallout, period. Because it's that open world exploration, collect everything, do the quests, so on. Fallout 3's main quest is garbage, and we suffer through it only because it gets us progression, gets us power armor, gets us then to New Vegas, where we start an actually well-written quest line. Unfortunately, again, that writer doesn't work for Obsidian anymore, so we look at that like, well, Bethesda doesn't have good writers. Obsidian may have good writers, but not the writers that made Fallout. And so we have to question, well, what's left? And the answer is that the Fallout franchise doesn't really have much life to it left to anyone who is a classic Fallout fan. However, you can check out a video I made called It's a Great Time to Be a Fallout Fan. I made that video explaining some of the mods that are being made, some of the mods that already exist. Some people who are fans of Fallout 1 and 2 don't know that there's Fallout 1.5 Resurrection, that exists, and it's good. There are tons of projects that you can check out, but from the actual source, from Bethesda, no. Remember, Bethesda didn't make classic Fallout. Classic Fallout was produced by Interplay, Black Isle Studios. They're gone. There won't be any more of that. So I'd fondly remember the games that you like. Just accept the fact that with Half-Life 3, you may never get what you're looking for. Now, people like myself were somewhat alienated by Fallout 4. The reason is because I was expecting at least a bare minimum of RPG mechanics. I expected them to learn from Fallout New Vegas, which they didn't do. So my expectations were already off kilter, if you know what I mean. But Fallout New Vegas is something that I would point to as my ideal Fallout game. Something that if they made the game world bigger, because they didn't have enough time, they were using Bethesda's engine. If they were able to make the game world bigger, if they were able to spend more time on it, if they weren't bound by console limitations, because unfortunately, we're not talking about modern consoles. We're talking a couple steps backwards, so they were very limited in what they could do. The engine would crash constantly, and in fact, the engine was still fairly unstable without certain patches. My point here is, if you had given the Obsidian team that was working on Fallout New Vegas the tools and time to actually complete the project, I think it would have been a much better game than it was. We got Fallout 4, where they removed skills. I had to use the Horizon Survival Framework to put skills back into the game. And yeah, what is the big joke is Bethesda creates frameworks and then modders make a complete game out of it. That's a joke, by the way. That's not actually what happens, because Bethesda makes an alright game, and then modders add the polish it needed. However, the subpar storylines that Bethesda makes, those last forever. We can't replace those unless we get into voice acting, because when you have voice-acted plots combined with non-voice-acted plots, it creates this disconnect where it's very irritating to see a silent voice yap at the bottom of the screen in text. It just doesn't create a positive experience. If all of it were text, I'd be fine with that. But when some of it's voice acted, some of it's not, it makes the game difficult. And of course, voice acting raises the production costs. It's like a badly made Hollywood film. We can sit here and we can dissect the scenes, dissect the storyline, and explain what they should have done better. But at the end of the day, we don't have the production resources or time available to us to actually sit down and refilm each of the scenes. We don't have access to the actors. The same things that make video games so damn expensive to produce are the things that make it impossible for modders to actually fix the issues with badly written storylines and things like that. If these were older games with text, if these were older games with text-based storylines, then we could easily just go into the code and rewrite it. Just a writer could rewrite the game, in theory. But that's not the case here. You can create all the scenes you want, but you need voice acting and animations to support those scenes. So what does all this have to do with Fallout 76? Well, I'm just establishing that old Fallout is dead. It's going to stay dead because of mass audience appeal for the RPG mechanics and Bethesda not taking it seriously for the storyline. They, however, create fun games. I had fun playing Fallout 4. I had fun exploring the Wasteland. So in Fallout 76, they aren't taking the story seriously because there hardly is one. The focus is shifted onto exploring the open world. It's only something you're going to be able to do so much before you reach the end of your line and you've explored everything there is to explore. But I think for a time, it will be entertaining. And for players, people who do plan to play this for a great amount of time, the company will release updates. Will those updates be good and worth our time? We can't say, but they promised updates. So I personally think, yes, Fallout 76 is going to be worth my time. This is based on all the footage I've seen, and most importantly, my taste in games, which goes beyond simple RPGs like Morrowind. I mean, yeah, Neverwinter Nights, Shadows of Undrentide, and Hordes of the Underdark are two really fun games, and I think they're chock full of RPG mechanics, but I like Saints Row 4 in the same way I like Fallout 4. I like them for different reasons than I like Neverwinter Nights or Baldur's Gate. And so, whilst I don't think that Fallout 76 is going to be a bad game per se, minus the player versus player aspect, which is probably going to be gutter trash, and I think they know it's going to be gutter trash, but I think they're struggling to find a way to balance it, I honestly think they're going to be good video games. There's not going to be the games that classic Fallout fans or even fans of Fallout 3 and New Vegas want. Anyway, people are asking about the beta, the break it early. I have no interest in pre-ordering the game. I will pick up one of the infinite online digital copies on release. Now that said, let's discuss something that people have been talking to me about for some time. They seem very concerned about this. Mods. So modding support won't come to Fallout 76 for at least a year, according to Pete Hines. At least that's what people have told me. I haven't actually looked for Pete Hines quotes because I don't consider the man important. He's a PR mouthpiece. So he claims that modding will be a year off at least. People have gotten very angry about this. They said they won't be buying it until then. That's a really stupid thing to say in public. Here's how it works. They're going to sell Fallout 76 without modding. Without modding, they have the ability to sell you DLCs, micro DLCs. What do you call them? Microtransactions. Be them a fancy hat or a really cool looking power armor paint job. They're going to sell you this stuff. The stuff that people wouldn't buy on the Creation Club if they weren't on the PS4. PS4 players don't get real mods. And as a result, the Creation Club was successful for PlayStation players. None of the other platforms, really, because people are smart enough, for the most part, not to buy substandard things that are already available in modding form. No, they're going to get a solid year of mod-free microtransaction sales. I mean, hell, I buy tons of microtransactions in Warframe. That's a free-to-play game, though. In this case, you're paying to play, and then you're paying for microtransactions afterward. Great. Well, either way, they can sell all that, and then, get this. This is the best part. All those people like, well, I'm not going to buy Fallout 76 until mods come out for it. People who say that in public are reassuring Bethesda that 1 year out, they're going to be able to proclaim modding released, and tons of people are going to buy the game. It's going to be like a second launch of the game. You know the way Fallout 76 isn't on Steam? I did a whole video about this, but they can have it not be on Steam, release their game, get all the sales, and then when the game starts dropping off, they can have a sudden Steam release. It's what they did with Fallout Shelter on the PC. It's what they did with Elder Scrolls Legends on the PC. They had 2 releases, and they got a boost in players. It's smart to do. So in the same way, they're going to have a private server surge of people, and then they're going to have a modding surge of people. And all the people who promised, well, I won't buy it till then, congratulations, you're telling Bethesda, okay, we can do a second release and get money down the road. It makes sense. There is zero impetus for them to include these features on release, because they know that when it gets better, people will hop on. Now, as for myself, obviously, in order to cover it, because that's what I do on this here YouTube and Twitch channels of the same name, I talk about these games. I'm going to be playing Fallout 76. I don't know how long. I mean, I told everyone, hey, I'm going to be playing Battle for Azeroth. It looks really cool. I'm going to enjoy it. And I did 2 live streams, and then, well, let's just say the game failed to impress to the point where I stopped playing it. This may very well happen with Fallout 76, so I must impress upon you, do not take my purchase on release as an endorsement. This is important. I'm not endorsing the product, but I will be playing it. So, for all of you who are wondering what was my opinion on Fallout 76, to recap, it's probably going to be right up my alley, but it might not be. It might be a horrible broken mess, but I don't think it's going to fail commercially. I honestly don't see that happening. I think that they're going to skirt on the Fallout brand name up until release, and as long as you have a couple friends to hop into the game with you, you pretty much always have access to an entertaining experience. At least that's what I've seen based on the game thus far. I mean, it's the same thing with me getting the Morrowind multiplayer framework together and playing that. in the sense that this is a open world exploration based game we're playing with other people. This doesn't look like an Elder Scrolls Online, but it does look like a live service. Set your expectations appropriately. If you're a classic Fallout fan, the Fallout series is dead. If you're a fan of just open world exploration games, congratulations, we got another one. So, thank you all for watching. I hope this rambly ramble has some meaning to you at least, because damn, have a lot of people asked for it. I was seriously hoping to just skirt by until Fallout 76 actually came out and then play it. But no, I gotta talk about it. Now this time it isn't just people who give me money. This time it's a lot of people bug me. But either way, thank you all for watching. Check the links on screen for more content. More videos will be coming out. Ever since I got back from my vacation, I've been inundated with work, so I haven't been able to do what I've wanted to do, which is produce videos and do live streams. I've usually had to choose between the two. And with YouTube being the way YouTube is, plus me really enjoying the real-time live interactions, I gravitate toward the live streams. Same username, Twitch, YouTube. Either way, I'll see y'all next time.